Okay, I'm still on this learning curve, and every time I try to do a video, something goes wrong. And I tried to make a video, and it ended up breaking up into about four different pieces. So I'm trying to combine those pieces, and this is the best way that I have figured out how to do it because all the other stuff just doesn't seem to work. Okay, here we go.
Let's get started.
Hello, Canada. Uh, it appears that I missed a bit of some important parts of uh, Belton, her testimony yesterday, just at the beginning and the lead up to the first video being played about her while she was in her truck. So I need to add a couple things, and especially somehow we missed out her talking about the CBSA and the strike that they had. So I just want to include that here as a little addendum to her testimony.
Canadian border officer, correct?
Yes, Windsor is typically a very hard, difficult border to cross, regardless of mandates. Once the mandates came in, they were unreasonable. And it was not the first issue with Windsor. It was the second issue with Windsor, and the third incident with CBSA during the COVID years.
Okay. And immediately after that encounter, you posted a TikTok video about your experience.
No, I was locked in their compound, not allowed to leave when I posted that video. I was afraid that I was going to be taken away by Windsor police. I thought that time was the time. They were finally going to take a truck that they did not own, take a load that did not belong to them, take my dog and euthanize him, and take me to jail. That's what I thought that night. And I was done with CBSA. I was done with the crap Canada was going through. And I was definitely done with the behavior of Canadians.
Okay.
Okay, and so the other correction that I need to make was that they didn't buy their truck in 2014. In 2014 is when Brigette got her Class A or Class 1 driver's license, her trucking license. They actually bought the truck in September of 2021, which was just months, 3 months before the restriction came in. They got lined up with Landstar. I don't know anything about this, but she said it's some kind of great trucking organization that is mostly in the United States, but is now coming into Canada, and that was going to be a great break for them. So they just bought the truck in September, and she kind of says September, October. So I guess she took possession of the truck actually through her husband. Her husband bought the truck for his company in just October of 2021, and then January the mandate came in. Okay, so this is while they're loading up the video, her TikTok video that starts at the beginning of my last video. While they were loading this up, there was this other conversation, and she talked about how she was banned and sent to jail on Facebook for 33 days and 55 days and something about eating crayons and oh my God, whatever. So she was already being banned on social media. And then there's this.
Well,
Yes, I was on Facebook. Again, I was censored on Facebook. My first real big censor on there was when I had explained to people that Florida wasn't never closed, that the only blockade for people getting in and out of Florida was on I-96, that I-75 and I-10 were wide open because I had been there. But our reporters here were telling people they couldn't get to Florida, which was total BS. Everybody could go in and out, and the only restriction was on I-96, and I believe it was only for New York residents at that time.
Here's some more of what I've missed.
That night on the phone that I was done, I told the wily driver that came up to console me I was done. I couldn't live that way anymore. Every time I came back into Canada, we couldn't buy clothes. We couldn't buy supplies to work. We worked 8 months with no sanitizer, no face masks, nothing. We had no bathrooms. We had no showers. We were refused everywhere we went. You have no idea what it's like to pee in a park on your way home from work because nobody meaning Subway in Chatham, would let me use their bathroom. And I just delivered a frozen load of Subway bread. It was the same store I was supporting, and they wouldn't let me use their bathroom. You have no idea how demeaning those COVID measures were to our industry. And yet, I felt it my duty to support Canadians and bring you the goods and services that many hoarded.
thank you. And if we can move forward, it was later that week that the Canadian government announced that a vaccine mandate would be introduced effective January 15 for people coming over the border, including commercial truckers. I'm sure you recall that.
Yes, I remember the smugness of our Prime Minister.
And what did that mean for your ability to work as a trucker?
That would mean that the truck that my husband just purchased would go bankrupt. At that time, JBT, I had gone to that trucking company looking for Canadian-only loads and to move the truck, or his company truck, over to JBT. We were refused because of a vaccine mandate. We were also looking for companies even just to drive. The rate had dropped from approximately 50 to 60 cents a mile to 38 cents a mile. It was slave labor. We then, and that was for Canadian only. And Canadian only loads, I have to tell you, between Ontario into Manitoba are some of the worst roads you'll ever drive. There are no places to stop. Nobody cares about the people up in Northern Ontario. And yet truckers do it every day, and it's a death highway. It's a death trap.
And, sorry.
So during all of that, there was very little solution for our truck. It would mean bankruptcy of the company.
And I take it that shortly after that, you came up with an idea for a convoy, a protest convoy, is that right?
Yes, and my husband and Chris Barber both told me convoys never work. They just never had a woman do it.
So what was your idea?
The idea was actually to work like CBSA. CBSA had a strike during COVID. They felt they didn't have enough money or enough benefits. They left truck drivers sit on the bridges. I was lucky, I was only there for 2 hours without food, fuel, or a bathroom. friend of mine was there for 14 hours, stuck in the backup and the backlog from CBSA. So I thought, well, if CBSA can disrupt our country and be just fine and have a settlement within 24 to 48 hours, truck drivers could do the same. We'll just follow CBSA's lead. And that's what we did.
And
More that our Prime Minister hit the airwaves threatening Canadians with consequences, his favorite word. I kept continuing looking on TikTok because I found out you could use the search bar and put in truckers and find truckers. And I put into their comment bars, Convoy 2022, Convoy 2022. And I just kept going until somebody responded, and thank God for Chris Barber.
and
Okay, so here's what she's talking about in August, or late July, August 2021, was what CBSA, oh, the poor souls, just as Canada is reopening its borders to U.S. vaccinated persons. So the union decided to have a slowdown of commercial traffic at the border. Okay, now what's the difference between CBSA doing a slow roll and the truckers doing a slow roll? Well, guess what? Big difference. Justin Trudeau was all out for having the CBSA workers dealt with properly at the table within hours. We're going to have to work with them. We're hopeful there won't be any disruptions. Well, so he jumped to the table to quickly avert a strike. So here's the union page. 8,500 unionized staff. How many people were at the convoy? You know, people on foot, people that didn't even have trucks or drive trucks or anything to do with trucks. There was a hell of a lot more than 8,500 people, but he jumped to the task of dealing with the 8,500 unionized staff. Yeah, because unionized staff, they're just so hard done by most of the time. Yeah. So there's that. Yeah, it's those CBSA people that kept our borders safe. And now it's time for the government to step up for them the way they've stepped up for Canadians. Oh, is that classic? Okay, and by the way, there's still an issue with Patrick McNulty. If you haven't heard of him, you need to look him up. He was a border guard who blew the whistle on the ArriveCan app, saying that it didn't work, that when people entered their information on the app, it was supposed to come up on a relevant app at their stations at the border. And it didn't. It didn't work. So they ended up asking the people the exact same questions that they'd already answered on the app. And people were frustrated, saying, well, what the hell was this app? I already answered these questions. Why are you asking me the same questions? So even for the people that were vaxxed and complied with using the app, it was crap. It didn't work. Anyway, he blew the whistle on that, He's the only one that I know of that said anything about it. They're talking about it in the House of Commons now and saying that they keep bringing it up as a $54 million boondoggle. That the app was overpriced. It was a no bid contract that was given to some people. It's very suspicious. People that worked out of their homes. So, as in no commercial office space or anything, and these people were given $54 million to create this app that didn't even work. But but the $54 million, well, that included all kinds of services and updates and this and that. Doesn't matter. The app didn't even work properly. Polyev keeps standing up and saying, I don't know where he got this information, but they keep saying it, is that the app could have been developed by a couple of people in their garage in a weekend for about $250,000. So $250,000 compared to $54 million. And also there's more fiasco with that, is that they can't even account for where the $54 million went. The opposition Conservative Party asked for a listing of the parties that got the $54 million. They were given an incomplete list, and some of the list included companies that subsequently were contacted to confirm that they worked on the project and were paid, and some of these parties said, no, we didn't work on it, and no, we didn't get paid. So there's so much shenanigans going on with that. That's another scandal. How many scandals can we have in this Liberal Party? They can't manage a checkbook rather than millions and billions of dollars that they're just handing out silly-nilly, willy-nilly. Well, it's to their buddies. Okay, so we know that. There's that. Oh, well then there's this. Okay, so really? This is unbelievable. Oh, access denied. Access now. Okay, so it's behind a paywall. Did you catch that? Another report of a manager forcing officers to conduct an illegal strip search of a bus full of students. That's bizarre. Okay, so that's a tangent I wasn't really prepared to go down, but there it is. Okay, the other only thing that I was going to include on this is Brigitte's council had a statement and some questions to Rollo about the whole legality of the proceedings, the legality of the way that the whole thing was brought, the way the EMA was brought into order. And anyway, I'll let you hear her.
I have a few requests to make at the outset. Brigette needs more time. She's been allocated an hour, it's an hour and 15 minutes. She was one of the persons who initiated the convoy. She participated all the way through, and she has a lot of information about the organization element, and it's insufficient amount of time. So that's the first request. The second request is she has severe dyslexia, and we didn't get sufficient time to deal with the numbering and documentation. So we have a person here, Rebecca Shepard, who has her documentation ready, and she can quote the numbers that need to be advised about what to bring up. And also, I want to request that I ask the questions of my client, because other witnesses are having their own counsel ask questions. We find it unfair, unreasonable for her to have to structure her statement according to questions given by somebody that doesn't know her case. And I also want an opportunity to question, I would like to question many different witnesses that were up there, but I'm only asking at this time to question Keith Wilson, because he's submitted a statement from an interview that he did on October 20th, and it discusses James Bowder and Brigette Belton, and they need an opportunity to question him about that information. And that's all the requests. And then I have 2 objections. The first objection is this commission was struck under section 63(1), and it requires order in council, which is the entire cabinet, and it was only based on the recommendation of Justin Trudeau. So that is a problem, considering he's the subject of the inquiry and he's calling it as well. I'm understanding that Bill Blair set it up, so he chose yourself and whoever else are significant administrators in this process. We find that that's unreasonable, considering these are the people that are being investigated, so they should not be setting up this process, and the chair should not have been somebody that was selected from the liberal camp, so to speak. And the other objection is the inquiry is focusing on the grounds, whether there was sufficient grounds to call the Emergency Act, and this is, in my view, moot, because the Emergency Act was also not invoked legally according to section 17(1), which required an order in council, which would have been the entire cabinet. The only time the executive is allowed to make order in council without going through cabinet is in an emergency. So they had to at least initiate the process through the cabinet. That wasn't done. So all of this, in my view, seems moot, because if it wasn't legal out of the gate, there's the main issue. And that's it.
Well, that's a good list. We haven't had a list like that in any case. So let me try and address them.
The only thing I would bring up about that whole spiel that she just gave is that the hearing was ordered by the Act. So I don't know if it's relevant that the whole cabinet needs to agree. No, nobody needs to agree, because it's already in the Act. The hearing, the inquiry needs to be enacted by virtue of enacting the Act. That seems so fucking bizarre, but whatever. By invoking the Emergency Measures Act, within that act, it says that you need to have an inquiry about the enacting of the act.
Firstly, you may not know, but I'm not in the Liberal camp. I've been a judge for 20 years, so that's just a fact.
Who were you appointed by?
I was appointed by the government, as you know.
By the Liberal
but
government?
I'm not here to be cross-examined. I'm sorry. That's not how it works. So, but I'm just giving you a fact. Now, having said that, you, of course, can object to what the commission, how it was set up. That's something I can't do anything about. That's something you would deal with in the federal court, and you're certainly free to do that. In fact, I believe there are other parties who are in the federal court attacking the Emergencies Act, and I believe there's also someone in court today attacking one of the subpoenas. So that's something, if you think I'm not properly constituted, obviously that's something you can pursue, but there's nothing I can do about that. In terms of your 4 questions, the objective here is to get the testimony that the public wants as to how this all developed. I think your client we've heard, was very involved in it, and the commission would like to hear her evidence.
Blah, blah, blah.
Obviously, how that's going to happen, I said earlier today, you weren't here, that because of the nature of these questions
Blah, blah,
and
blah,
the
blah,
nature of what witnesses like Ms. Belton have, I will be flexible about time, because ultimately what we're after is getting a proper representation from the people as to what happened, why it happened. So I can't say more than that, except that that's what our objective is. And we will be flexible for time. In terms of help, of course, if she needs help, that's something which, quite frankly, we're more than sympathetic about. We want the help needed, if she needs it, to get the documents out and to get the story out. That's what this whole commission's about, is about trying to get the information out. In terms of you questioning her, of course you can question her. It's not, it's provided in the rules. It will just come at the end, and how long you'll help guide us as to what's needed. Our expectation is, and Commission Counsel, if you have been following the commission, have been very good to let the witnesses tell their story, because we're not here to try and push one line or the other. I think if you were here for the earlier witnesses today, they're here to tell the story. Commission Counsel will help bring it out. But of course, you're entitled to, as Ms. Belton's counsel, to make sure if we've missed something, to allow her to do it. In terms of questioning other witnesses, all I could suggest is at the end of the day, you speak to Commission Counsel as to issues that you think Commission should pursue, because again, same objective, whether it's this witness or any other witness, we want the story to come out. So that's my best answer for your questions, your objections. As I say, I can do little about them. Federal court might be happy to deal with it, might not. I leave that to you. So that's my response. I'd like to be able to get on with Ms. Belton's evidence if I can, but I just want to hear if that's agreeable.
Well, I've been allotted 10 minutes.
Well, as I say, I will be flexible for that, and if you want more time, I will give you more time.
I do want more time. I want a lot more time. I would like to question her throughout.
Well,
and we need more than an hour.
Okay,
So,
well-
I'm just putting it out there. That's the end of it.
okay, so can we
And-
proceed?
One other thing, I did speak to Mr. Mather regarding Keith Williams' statement and where it's problematic, and he said to defer this issue to you.
Okay, well, and I think he was deferring to me whether you could question. And as I've said, that's not the way we operate, but if you speak to either Mr. Mather or to Mr. Leon, they can make sure the concerns, to the degree they're relevant as evidence, can be brought out. Because obviously we want to make sure the issues that are important to the commission and to the public are.
The thing is, the other council are invited to ask questions to the witnesses. I can't.
No, I understand
And I'm
that.
just asking for one, not
Yeah.
all. And that should be fair. Okay, let her have one.
I'm sorry, that's not the way it works. It is not the process, but I'm trying to accommodate you. That's the best I can do.
So are we going to allow Rebecca to assist?
Okay. I think it's for documents, as I
Yes.
understand the issue.
Yes.
So when it comes to a question of documents, we'll sort it out. Either have her come up or have
That's not
whatever.
going to work. She's got to go and get set up. and organize the paperwork so that she can pass the numbers that need to be given to bring up the documents. They can't just
but-
do that.
I can refer to them by the name that I sent them to, but you renumbered all of them.
Yeah.
So if you can't find them, then,
We'll sort it out.
Okay, great.
I appreciate that, and believe me, the numbers, the system has been very good, but it's not simple. I need help. But we will help for that, and you can refer to the document, and when you refer, we'll find it. We may take a minute, may take 5 minutes, but we're all here for the same objective, I hope. Is that okay?
yeah, that sounds fine.
Okay, so perhaps we can
Let's
have
get
the
it
witness
started.